lot of you may be here because you know Maria Bello as an actress. In my family, Coyote Ugly is her mark of fame. But she is also now, she's become, I think, probably even better known for leading a national conversation about love, about labels, about partnership, about how we make connections and what we call them and what they mean. She wrote a piece for the Modern Love section of the New York Times about a year and a half ago almost. And it wound up being I think it was the second most clicked on piece in the history of the paper. She got 270,000 responses within the first hour. And the piece, it was called something about, let's see, coming out as a modern family. But what it was really about was something deeper, something more profound, and that is about how we see ourselves and the limits that we put on ourselves when we use labels. And I'm just going to read a paragraph from it so that you know kind of where we're going. She said, "I have never understood the distinction of primary partner. Does that imply that we have secondary and tertiary partners too? Can my primary partner be my sister or child or best friend? Or does it have to be someone I'm having sex with? I have two friends who are sisters who've lived together for 15 years and raised a daughter. Are they not partners because they don't have sex? And many married couples I know haven't had sex for years. Are they any less partners?" From that, she wrote a book that kind of wrestles with some of these questions that we're going to talk about. But first, I want her to just tell us how the column came to be and whether you were so surprised by the response. I have to say, I read it, and it really moved me. It felt like a message because I could relate to it on personal levels. And I was astounded that somebody would be kind of so clear about it and so brave and so just so honest. So tell us how it came to be.
Okay. First of all, I am so blessed to be here today with all of you on my 48th birthday. This has been one of my biggest dreams since I was 13 years old, to write a book, and I wasn't sure what that would be. I was inspired by something my son said to me to write the New York Times article. When I told him that I had fallen in love with a woman who was my best friend and a godmother to him, he said, "Whatever, Mom, love is love." And from that moment, I started asking myself questions, and it led to more and more questions. And the feedback that I got, the people who wrote to me, one woman said, "My best friend lives next door to me in the next room. My ex-husband lives in back. We all raise my children." And when someone asks me, "Do you have a partner?" she doesn't know what to say. Because she doesn't have a romantic partner at the time, because she didn't have a business partner, but she does have this family and partnership. And that's what I have with my modern family.
I think part of the reason it tapped into us, too, is because so many of us have these unconventional relationships and don't know what to call them. But you moved from that piece to a kind of a broader movement that I guess I'll call the whatever movement. And it's now you've got clothing, you've got a blog, you've got all kind of ways for us to connect around that issue. How did you come from there to the book?
I was sick with a parasite 2 summers ago. And as it was eating my insides, I realized that something was trying to come out of me. And it wasn't just the parasite. It was something bigger than that. And it was all of these questions I had in my life. I looked around my bedside when I was sick, and I saw these astounding partners: my mother, Claire, my son's dad, my brother, and I thought, these are all my partners, and I've shared different experiences with them than I ever will with anyone else in that room. And I took that as a sign, and as I was recovering, I decided to reread all of the journals I'd been keeping since I was 13 years old.
Ooh, that's scary.
From a green notebook that I drew little hearts over, talking about how I was in love with this guy and this guy. And I have hundreds of them. So as I was reading them, I thought I was just taking a walk down memory lane. And instead of that, I started uncovering all of these things and all of the labels I'd given myself my whole life, and all of the labels that other people had put on me. And I realized there was a larger conversation to be had.
And you say in the book that this is not about answers, this is about questions. And that, I will say, when I read the book, was the most profound thing for me, because the questions, it's not just about romance, it's not about love or partnership, it's about defining yourself. And there were questions like, can I be a good Catholic if I don't follow all the tenets of my religion? Am I a good mother if I smoke and I curse and I have a lover? And you kind of turn some conventional things on their head. What was your favorite image and story, the strongest feeling that you had about what you wrote in the book?
I really believe that our old traditional labels don't seem to fit anymore for most people. They don't fit into a tidy little box that we have made them out to be. The word whatever means not emphasizing and not having a restriction in how you speak about something. And because for my own life, I didn't have a way to explain all of these things, I decided that I, in fact, was a whatever. Did you know that Facebook this year added 50 new labels for gender identification, including binary, agender, and cisgender, which, do you know what that means,
no,
cisgender?
I don't.
Look it up, because it's really interesting. Most of you in the room are cisgenders, and as I looked through these new labels, I realized I was like 15 of them. So I thought, should LGBT turn into LBGT, ABCDEFG? And what I came up with is that you know, one of my biggest heroes is a woman called Marsha P. Johnson. She's a famous African-American transgender AIDS activist who threw the first shot glass at Stonewall, standing up for the rights of the transgender community. And when a judge asked her one time, what does the P in your name stand for? And she said, pay it no mind, because it's nobody's business anyway. And that really struck me and was a big impetus for me.
We use labels, though, in a lot of ways, don't we? In some ways, I mean, for the larger society, labels are a way to sort us and to put us in a box and to understand somebody. But individually, can a label kind of comfort you or empower you? I mean, I know, for instance, transgender, which wasn't used so often and is now, and has been latched on by people who feel comforted by the idea that there are other people like me, that I'm part of a group, you know, that there's an affinity there. Do you think that there's a role for labels, and if you have to label yourself, how would you label yourself?
Absolutely there's a role for labels. I think that the only labels you should have are the ones you give yourself, and the ones that make you feel proud to be a part of a community. So certainly, I will take on any label you want to give me as long as it moves policy and human rights, basically. And how I would label myself, first of all, is a mother. My son today, this is one of the best gifts. He gave me for my present a thing of M&Ms that he had personalized with the W on, which is our symbol for whatever, and on the other side it says, love is love. Mm-hmm. And I said, did your dad help you come up with this, or Claire? And he said, no, I saw a commercial for it and I did it myself. And I am very proud to say that I'm a mother, and I know a lot of you parents out there, men, women, even if you're, you know, it's your niece, it's your nephew, someone you're raising who you're responsible for, we all ask that question, am I a perfect mom? Am I good enough mom? And that's something that really resonates with me. And every day I have to say to myself, I am the best mom for my kid.
That's great. You were concerned when you wrote the column that there would be pushback and disapproval and maybe even hostility. And I know it was characterized by many, particularly a lot of the Hollywood media, as you coming out, you know, that Maria has come out as gay or has come out as bi. What was the reaction that you got in your career and in your family?
I have to say, there was a great article in Salon.com. This woman wrote, if you took it as just that coming out, you're missing the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
The happiness itself is the point. And the idea was about partnership. For years, my friend John Calley, who is a big producer in LA, but we shared a love of books and a curiosity about spirituality and our search always for a princess and Prince Charming. And for 5 years, I didn't have a romantic partner. I might have been sleeping with someone now and again, but I wouldn't call them my partner. He was my partner. I spoke to him every day. We shared all of our stories. He was the one whose, feet I cried at when I was having another dramatic affair. So was he any less my partner? And he said something to me. I write about him in the book in a chapter called Am I Perfect? He asked me one day, hello. He asked me one day, he said to me, Maria, do you know the secret? And I said, no, but if there was anyone who could tell me the secret, it would be him, the life that he lived. And he said to me, the secret is there is no secret. We all walk around with this feeling that there's something wrong with us, and other people know it as well. But the secret is we're perfect just the way we are.
I think I read that Salon piece, and it was good. And it's right that you miss the point if you make this just about gay or gender or any of those related issues. Because what it left me with was a sense that of having a purposeful relationship, a relationship where the two people in it can declare what's important and define what makes it a relationship, and that can be applied to any relationship we have, it seems. That if you go into it, kind of aware of what it means to you and what it does for you, then you're both kind of more engaged in it, it seems. It's not falling in love, it's like, creating a love or honoring a love as you go through it.
That's absolutely right. We make a conscious choice, and whatever love is about family. Yeah. It's about partnership. It's about the labels we give ourselves and that other people give us. And how are you going to transform those labels for yourself? A label that disempowers you, how will you transform that label? And a label that makes you feel that the best person that you could possibly be, how do you own that label?
What would you say to people who are struggling with labels and struggling perhaps with disapproval or struggling with how to come out and how to present themselves to other people? There is a certain, stigma to certain labels and all, and yet I think sometimes when you're early in a process, you hold on to those labels. What would you have to say to particularly young people, I think, who are wrestling with labels?
What's interesting is I think this generation and my son's generation, less and less they care about labels. What just happened in Arkansas and Indiana, you saw these, his approval rate drop like this because especially young people were standing up saying, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. I don't label people in that way. My son's friends, we talk about it, and they're like, I don't care who is attracted to who or what religion they are, My friend Kareem is Muslim, and he is mortified that because of these few jihadists and terrorists that people label him as that or see him as that, when the truth is where he comes from is where I come from as a Catholic, which is love is love.
Yeah. And it is hard, I think, for us sometimes in this generation to get your mind around. Even I talk about this with my daughters too, and my youngest daughter said to me, I was talking about lesbians and bisexual, and she said, Mom, I don't know a girl who hasn't had a girl crush or a girl relationship. You don't have to call it anything, and that that you love the people and you love who they are, not what they are. How can we extend that beyond romance into, like you said about your friend being Muslim? How can we, learn to not pigeonhole somebody, but to embrace all of them?
I don't know the answer to that. I think it's up to each individual. As you said, my book is about questions. Yes. And hopefully that opens a larger conversation for yourself and other people about the labels that you take on. For me, it's about being a whatever. I mean, that for me, that's the only way that I can really explain the totality of who I am.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility in that. The book was fascinating because it deals with so many different elements of your life, and it is intensely personal. If you want to know the real story about Maria, it's there. Was that difficult to put so much of yourself out there? The bad relationships, the lapsed religion, the family issues, the mental issues. Was that hard?
So, writing this book was the hardest thing that I've ever done, but the most freeing thing I've ever done. It was about taking this first chapter of my life that I've learned and what I've seen so far from all of these incredible, incredible teachers that I've had, and sharing that gift, really. And some of the chapters were hard. Most importantly, I was terrified for my dad to read it, because we had a very difficult relationship growing up, a very abusive relationship, but my dad was really sick. And I was so scared to hurt him, because he's in a good place right now, and he's grown in his consciousness, and so have I, by learning about his childhood and where he came from, and being able to accept that he was a human being as well. So, believe it or not, the first person who read it, my first galleys, was my dad. He was out visiting, and he just kind of picked it up, opened it. The next day he said, "That's a really good book." And I said, "Well, did that chapter about you, how did you feel about that?" He goes, "I thought it was great." He said, "The only thing I didn't want to hear about was like the sex stuff." So I thought that was a perfect thing for a father to say.
And this was, if I recall, you were kind of worried about telling your parents and your big family about your relationship with Claire. And her dad responded by saying, "She's a good girl. She'll be good for you, and she's good for you." So that
right.
was different than what you expected too then, right?
It was. I have to say, I was limiting my idea of my family and who they were by thinking that they would say that. And by the way, many people do question that when someone comes out in that way, in a romantic relationship that still has a stigma to it to an older generation at certain times. But I think the more that we express ourselves, we're true to ourselves. One of my teachers, my first acting teacher, said, "To thine own self be true," which we know is a famous quote. But it's true. The more that we can be just exactly who we are and express that and do it from a place of love, the more that I think that we'll be able to help people to accept that.
Tell us about one of my favorite chapters. I think this was called Cinderella. It's about the golden shoe. Tell us a little about that.
I'm sure everyone in this space has had the Cinderella fantasy, that Princess Charming was going to come along and rescue us. I have certainly had it a lot of my life. My first experience with my golden shoe, I was a struggling actor in New York, 23 years old, thought I was making it. I did a Domino's pizza commercial, and I had an audition one day for this big Hollywood movie. And when I got home to my cockroach-infested apartment in New York City, my manager called and said, "By the way, they said never send her back. She doesn't know how to act, and your agent's fired you." I was crying. It was snowing. I ran down 23rd Street, freezing cold. Then I saw something glinting in the snow. Here I am in my black army boots, toughy back then, and it was a shoe, a golden, glittery shoe. And in that moment, I took it off and put it on, and it fit. And in that moment, I thought, this is a sign. My mom always told us to believe in signs. And this sign was telling me I was supposed to keep going. And, I gave it away at a certain point. I realized all of my dreams had come true. I was a respected actress, and I'd won awards, and, I became a mother, and all of these things happened. So I went to Central Park, and I put my shoe on a sign, and I said, "If you're a size 9, please stop and try the shoe on." And I didn't say who I was, but I wrote a letter underneath saying, my dreams came true, and I hope yours do too. I got in the limousine afterwards in the car, and I started crying. And the limousine driver said, do you know, what you give you'll get back tenfold. Needless to say, a couple of months later, I'm walking down the beach, and my son comes running up to me, and he goes, Mom, I found your shoe. And it was another gold shoe that had washed up on the shore. A month after that, I'm walking out of the Hollywood Bowl. I trip over something, it's a gold shoe, like a spray-painted Ugg, a gold Ugg. I take a couple more steps, I trip over a sneaker, another golden shoe. I trip over a high heel, another golden shoe. In the end, I collected 7 golden shoes. So by giving that away, I got back even more. And I do believe that the more we give, the more we get.
We're going to open for questions in a minute from the audience. But I want to just say that, you know, one thing I love about Maria and about the journey that she takes in the book is kind of your sense of being present in all of this. I mean, whether it's looking for signs or whether it's taking the temperature of yourself and saying, well, I love Claire, what does that mean? I mean, there's a sense of engaging in life and not being stopped by what other people might think. Is that just you? I mean, you're not the actress person. When I was asked to interview her, I expected a very, formal actressy person, and instead we met in the bathroom in the green room and was just like 2 girlfriends. So your way of living, though, is, I think, something we can also learn from. Is that just who you are, or?
That's really nice of you to say, and the truth is, I'm incredibly curious, and that's one of the reasons that I love Claire so much, and my family and friends. Curiosity, I think, is the thing, and asking ourselves, constantly asking ourselves questions, and you're right about being present. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of spiritual gurus in my life that I was constantly searching for 20 years, like, tell me the answer, tell me the answer. And I realized in the end, I did it again last year. I went to this doctor saying, I feel like crap, I know you have the answer for me. And of course, in the end, I realized, he doesn't have the answer for me. No one does. It's me and God. God is my partner. And I'm the only one that has answers for me. That's one thing that I did come up to as an answer for myself.
I think that's great. Can we have a shout out for Claire? Can we?
Yes, where's Claire?
Where's Claire? Because the other thing that meant so much was to see Claire and Maria work through their relationship. And Claire, hello, she's over there.
And still working through.
Yes, and working through it probably every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conscious choice, like you said before.
Yeah.
Relationships are fluid. They never stay the way they are. Yeah. And when we try to keep them how we think they should be, it's really limiting, as opposed to letting things unfold. Like my son's father, we were romantic partners, we had a son, and then we grew in a different direction, and now he's my best friend.
Yeah, I love their modern family is Maria and Claire and her son and her son's dad, and you said at one point there's like not a day that goes by that we're not all together.
Well, right after this, for my birthday, it's an exciting birthday, Claire and I take a road trip to Oxnard for the National Cup, where Dan and Jack are, to watch my son, who's an amazing soccer player. And for me, that's one of the most enjoyable, exciting things I could do with my day.
That's great. Well, we can take some questions if there are any out there. If not, I have a ton more.
Hi, one about halfway back here.
Hi there.
So you said that your son helped inspire the Modern Love column in the book. How proud is he for seeing you having written this, and how supportive has Claire been?
I said to my son the other day, there's some things in this book you might not want to read. He's like, Mom, I don't care. Like, I'm happy to read your book. And he read the dedication, and it said, Jackson, I will always love you more. Because we've had this joke since he was a kid. He would say, I love you more. And I'd be like, no, I love you more. Moms love their kids more than they love the kid. I love you more. And he feels proud. His best friend, Milo Mannheim, who's Cameron Mannheim's little boy, he has a piece in the book. There's a piece about being on the beach with him. And all he said from the back seat is, read me my part. from when it starts to when it ends. So Jackson is proud that he came up with Whatever Love Is Love, and I'm sure he's so busy right now with playing FIFA and playing soccer and his homework and everything he does. At some point he'll read it and he'll have a lot of questions about it.
Question all the way at the back.
Hi. My question is, how is it that you were able to...
I can't see you. Hi.
Hi. How is it that you were able to see your father, I guess, with love and get past that trauma and grow from that? I mean, did you already along the way have those tools, or was it him being ill?
Really, it was about both of us growing and changing. And years later, we didn't know that he had bipolar disorder, something he would pass down to me, because oftentimes it's hereditary. And when we started talking about it and there was medication for him, he became clear and was able to see. A lot of it he didn't even remember. He was on so many drugs at the time. But even so, he asked for forgiveness. And I don't believe in pure forgiveness. You know, I work in Haiti, and I remember holding the hands of a 7-year-old girl as she was getting operated on, who was gang raped. And I would never tell her to forgive those. I wouldn't. I don't believe in forgiveness across the board. What I do believe in is acceptance, to accept what has happened to us. And from that place, we're able to move on.
Question in the front on the right.
Hi, Maria. My name is Mari, and I'm with the Movement for Revolution.
What's that?
I brought you a film. It's a dialogue between Cornel West and Bob Avakian on religion and revolution, because this system, what you're talking about, one reason I really admire you, Haiti. You also brought the film The Square to Los Angeles, which today, because of the fact that the system is so messed up and the army is still there, people are dying there in Egypt again. You've done so much on so many different fronts. We have a system that devours people. I just spent 2 weeks on a bus with the pictures of people who have been killed by police in this country, going around all of Los Angeles. You really tap into all of these things about how human relations are at the core, and yet this system devours people. I wish you would speak to that.
Sure. First, I would like to say that my friend Chris was here, who won an Emmy for his editing on The Square. Claire Munn is here, who was an executive producer on The Square. She is a true activist. She's 4th generation African American. And she has fought for her whole life for human rights and still does. And I love that about you, Claire. And all of my friends in the audience are the same way. And to your question, I think one of my mentors said, Father Ray Jackson, he was my partner and a priest all through my years at university. I named my son after him, actually. And he said to me, you serve best by doing the thing you love most. And it seems that way about you. You believe in this revolution, right? That's your passion, that's your insides. And you know, and joining with other people that have your same passion about that, I think that's incredible. The people that I worked with in Haiti, that I still work with, the women that I met, all of the, you know, Hollywood stars, all of the, you know, another priest there, and these angels that are, you know, Haitian, we have a bond that we'll never be able to separate. We have a bond because of our shared passion that will never go away.
The question to your left over here, away on the right.
Hi, I was wondering if you would please share your experiences with Prime Suspect. I missed the series, sorry that it's gone. And did you also get a chance to work with any of the British cast and crew in preparation?
Any who, I'm sorry?
The British cast and crew, Prime Suspect, in preparation for Prime Suspect.
No, I didn't, but I loved my experience on Prime Suspect. And that relates to my chapter on feminism. I say, you know, nowadays that label has come up again, and what does that mean? And even young people are coming out and saying, who come out and say, I'm not a feminist, by being successful and be able to say and, you know, out loud, I'm not a feminist, makes them a feminist. And there are a lot of, you know, people in this world. One of my favorite feminists in the United States is Michael Kimmel. And he happens to be a man, but he is a feminist who believes in equal rights for all, no matter what your gender is.
Oh, any more questions down here? Should kick it back up to Sandy.
I just want to say, too, even with Claire, I love, Maria and I were talking earlier about Claire is fourth-generation African-American, and so you might imagine someone that looks like me, and that's wrong. That Claire is the blonde, blue-eyed African-American, and I love it that I could say, you know, she's truly way more African-American than I am. But, you know, that also suggests how I bet everybody in here got a certain picture when you say that. And I guess the challenge I have, and in my job as a reporter, is to train myself, not just about labels applied to me, but to train myself to kind of look beyond labels and see people as people. Are there ways, things that we can do, you know, volunteering in places, or what are the things that we can do to liberate our own minds, kind of?
First, to address race and heritage. After the book is published, you can go to whateverloveislove.com, and I'm putting out a blog about race and heritage. And it's about what you were speaking about. I think your columns and what you do, giving a voice to people, a lot of people who are voiceless, is the way to be of service. That's your way to be of service. And I am moved by every article that you write.
Well, thank you. Now, this is not supposed to be there, but thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you. And it is. I do feel grateful. I like what you said about the way you serve is doing what you love, and to have the opportunity to meet all these people, you know, whether it's the homeless guy on the subway or, you know, whatever, and introduce them to readers as not so scary, I think helps. But I do get a lot of feedback from people that are still very much have everybody in a box, and I'm still interested. Did you get any pushback, any negative reaction to your kind of, you know, saying let's all be flexible about this?
It was so incredible, even on my social media. Probably 99% of the feedback was positive. I didn't even read the 1%, to be honest. I was just thrilled that so many people were interested in this larger conversation, and my hope with the book is that we will continue this conversation about labels and only choose the ones that make us feel empowered. In terms of Hollywood, I got more great roles in my life last year than I've had for a very long time. And I want to say, in the Hollywood community, whatever you think from Us Magazine, from People Magazine, most of the people in our industry are incredible, incredible people who are open and flexible and accepting. And I'm proud to be a part of that community.
I think I was surprised to hear, I mean, I knew I loved it when I read it, but I was surprised to hear that it was so resonant with so many people. I think it kind of reflects, there's an angst that we're all, you know, it's scary going through life alone, and if you don't have the kind of conventional partner, it's easy to feel that you're alone. Like you said, some people just said, well, do I not have a partner? And it reflected kind of a need to couple, to partner, to have a soulmate, you know, whatever you want to call it. Did you hear stories from people that stuck with you about going through something similar to what you did?
I have heard so many stories, and that's been quite a blessing. So many people have come up and shared their stories with me, and one of the things that I really learned is about my golden shoe, that it wasn't only my wish for my career that I placed on the shoe, it was also my wish for the Prince Charming, that somebody was going to complete me, that somebody would come along one day with that other shoe and place it on my foot, and then I would be whole, and then I would be something, then I would be my best self. What I learned in the end is the only one that can give me my own shoe is me. I went to DSW a couple days ago and bought an amazing pair of gold shoes, and they fit me great. And my parents taught me that, and I learned that, to stand on my own 2 feet.
You know, I imagine you're probably now kind of a role model or a symbol for the LGBT movement, maybe for young people particularly. Do you feel that way, and is that comfortable? Do you?
I'm excited about the idea that perhaps we're getting to a place where saying who we are attracted to or who we have sex with is going to be like saying what you had for breakfast. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about that point.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll applaud that one. Anybody else questions out there? We've got, I think, about 5 more minutes before they kick us off of here. Well, let me ask, what next now? Is there, I mean, you've got all of us thinking about this subject now. Are there things that you have planned that will feed into that or support that?
I'm really interested on my social media, everybody here, on my Twitter and Facebook. Tell me in a couple of lines your labels, the ones that you don't feel empowered by and the ones that you feel really empowered by. And the ones that resonate, I'll be picking one every month to write about it and interview you and have you on my blog.
I would love to see that because I still, you know, I'm totally on board with what you're saying, but I still think a lot about how we do rely on labels, both to, you know, as a comfort and to say we belong somewhere. And I wonder if there could be just labels that, you know, kind of imply the flexibility that you have. So I think it'll be an interesting conversation going forward to see people talk about their own labels. I mean, I always think about this. I'm black, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a journalist. And which of those one, if I had to say the one thing about me, and I would say I think a mother too, probably every mother would say that, whether even because we have to. But it's, you know, at different times, it's different things. And so you have me thinking now, sometimes I'll be in the middle of something and ask myself, how am I acting? Because sometimes the mother in me may conflict with the woman in you. You know, you want to have you want to have somebody sleep over. I could hardly not even say that. You want to have a man sleep over. That's the woman. But the mother is, you know, what is that saying to my children? So, you know, some of those things are in conflict, and I think that process of resolving them that we go through individually is something that pays dividends in life, and that's a blessing. That's a gift, I think, from what you've written that goes way, way beyond sex.
I think so as well, and the first person besides my son and Claire that I wanted to speak to this morning that called me was my mother. My mother, who is alive after 28 years from being diagnosed with inoperable cancer. She's been diagnosed again, and she will always say, I am not my disease. I am not cancer. And the biggest lesson she taught me is, you just gotta laugh. And she makes me laugh every moment, and I wish that for all of you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of my friends who came here today, and all of you that came here. I feel really, really grateful. Thank you. And to you, very, very grateful and happy to meet you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sandy Banks and Maria Bello.